It presented a integrated and a comprehensive reform agenda. Some of it was very strategic and some of it was quite detailed, but it was a big picture as well as quite prescriptive set of ideas that governments committed themselves to do, and it eliminated a whole lot of unnecessary differences between the states in the way that they were managing their water. It introduced for the first time equal status for irrigation water and for environmental water, which just hadn't been the case before then, and it introduced also unprecedented security for irrigators in using their water for productive purposes, and environmental water managers, which just hadn't had the security of supply for their water supplies until then. It delivered ubiquitous water trading all across Australia, something that is now admired all around the world. Wherever I go around the world, people say, the Australians, they have water trading organised so well, we'd like to do that too. So water trading, I think, has been a real centrepiece of the water reform agenda. It significantly raised the profile of groundwater. Groundwater had for so long been a poor cousin of surface water, and because of the National Water Initiative, all of a sudden we had groundwater being treated in a very serious, well-managed way, and that's one of the big legacies, I think, of the National Water Initiative. And it established some enduring principles of good water management, which not only apply across developed areas of water management in southern Australia, but are now being adopted for new developments in northern Australia as well. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we've got a good set of prescriptions, a good set of policy ideas, which northern Australian new water developments, and for that matter other water developments across Australia, can utilise. That hadn't been the case before the National Water Initiative. Importantly, it introduced arrangements that had the governments of Australia scrutinised for the delivery of their reform commitments. All the governments had signed on to certain commitments, and arrangements were set up and institutions were set up to establish scrutiny arrangements so that there was public comment on how governments were going against their commitments, and that was a really important part of the reform process. Some of the big things that remain to be done, particularly in the urban area. The National Water Initiative really wasn't as strong as it should have been in reform of urban water, but I think there's a big agenda now to pursue about the decentralisation of urban water supply arrangements, perhaps the privatisation, but doing the big utilities differently from the way they've been done. Another area that we still need to tackle is improving the way we deal with mining and energy resource developments, including unconventional gas. Certainly they were contemplated in the National Water Initiative, but there's more reform work to be done there, and that's certainly something that the community is pressing for, better management of those developments. There are still some policy bans, as the National Water Commission has always called them, which governments have in place. So those bans are things like there will be no more dams, no new dams, or there will be no drinking of recycled water, and those sorts of ab initio policy bans really do need to be considered and considered on their merits rather than banned outright. So those policy bans, but particularly the policy ban on drinking of recycled water, is something that does need to be reviewed in the reform agenda going ahead. We do need, even though we've made great progress on water trading, we do need to make progress on a national water market exchange. There's a lot of work that should be done there because although we've got an excellent water market or markets across Australia, I think there's good progress that could be made on making a better exchange arrangement and servicing that water trading business. We need, as time goes on, to develop better hydrological and ecological science to guide the Commonwealth Environmental Water Holder and other environmental water managers in Australia. It's really important that people can see, the community can see, that environmental water is being used as effectively and efficiently as production water, irrigation water, and for that there needs to be good science and good knowledge and well-planned use of that water. Similarly, I think we need, as a nation, to have better arrangements for setting water research priorities. The water science agenda is not as clear as it should be. We need to link that research agenda, the science agenda, to our policy needs and the needs of water users much more effectively. So there's a big job of work, I think, yet to be done in that area. And we need to have the good principles of the National Water Initiative, the good policy principles about how to manage our water well, adopted routinely in new developments across Australia. So that includes Northern Australia, and it's good that they initially are principles that are being adopted, but we must make sure that that continues to happen and that new developments, not only in Northern Australia but elsewhere in Australia, conform to the principles of the National Water Initiative.